Welcome to the Lady Landlords podcast, where we empower women to gain financial independence through real estate investing. I'm your host, Becky Nova, founder of Lady Landlords. If you're ready to buy, manage, and grow your real estate portfolio, then let's get started.
Do you have what it takes to be a successful lady landlord? Well, tune in today as I share the 5 characteristics that I have noticed in the top women that I have worked with within Lady Landlords. Welcome back to today's episode of the Lady Landlords podcast. Today, I actually was going back through some of the women that I have gotten to meet through Lady Landlords. Many of them have been on this podcast, have been able to share their story, have been able to really walk all of you as the listener through their journey within real estate to find financial freedom, to find financial stability, security, to leave their job, to create a legacy for their children, whatever it may be. And when I was thinking back to some of those interviews, someone had actually asked me, what are the trends that I tend to see through those women? So I went back, I re-listened to some of my episodes, and I wanted to pull out for you today the top 5 skills that I see that lead to success for our members in our Lady Landlords Facebook community and also in our Lady Landlords mentorship program. So as we go through this, I want you to think about where you feel like you fit in this. Is this something that sounds like you? Do you feel like as I'm going through that I am speaking about you, that this is fitting you? Or are you saying, hey, maybe this is a place for me to put a little work into, and then this is an area that maybe you want to consider getting some support on, so that way you can really give yourself the chance to be the best lady landlord that you can be. I feel incredibly grateful that since I started Lady Landlords back in 2020, that now that I retired from the corporate world, that I really get to spend my day talking with our members and other women about what they're doing in their portfolio, what they're doing to grow, what their results from investing in real estate, what have they received out of this. What I think is interesting is real estate investing to me. Real estate is just a vehicle to get us the thing that we want, okay? Nobody sets out to say, you know what I want to do? I want to receive tenant calls and emergencies on nights and weekends. Nobody says that. Nobody says, hey, when I grow up, I want to be a landlord. That's just not what we're looking for. But what our community really looks for is the benefits that we get from owning real estate. And that's what I actually think is really intriguing. So here are the top 5 characteristics that I noticed when I went back and listened to our previous member episodes and thought about just the women that I speak to on a daily basis. What's cool is if you have not, or if you are new to the Lady Landlords podcast, all of our member stories are women that we have worked with within our Lady Landlords inner circle, okay? Our inner circle is really where women are saying, I am ready. I am ready to make a change. I am committed to this, and I know I can be successful in this. I just need some support and some guidance. So I thought it was really cool to kind of go back and listen to a lot of those stories, as we've had over 600 women go through the Lady Landlords mentorship program over the past 5 years. We have had thousands of others on our workshops, webinars, networking events, all the different ways and resources that we're able to support women in this community. And I think it was really cool just to kind of see what were some common threads of women as they really grew. So the number 1 characteristic that I realized was something that just transcended across our group of successful lady landlords here is that they understand the value of education. Okay. Now, I know I am not the only one that never got a financial literacy class back in college or high school. I know that there was never any topic of how to buy a house, how to pay my taxes, how to do taxes for that matter, right? If you were in my generation, you probably got that home ec class where they gave you an egg for a week and you had to make sure you didn't crack your egg throughout that week, or at least my school did that. Great. I'm sure that's helpful in some ways, but did that help me learn how to make sure to have a roof over my head? No, that did not. So now, us as adults, these are things that we have to figure out on our own. These are things that we have to say, great, cool, I have a degree. We have many of the women in Lady Landlords have advanced degrees. I'm talking they are doctors, they're attorneys. There are some really amazing women that have very, very accomplished in our Lady Landlords community. But even with those degrees, sometimes real estate investing is a different place. And it's okay to say, I don't know the answer to that. I need to go out and search that. And one of the things that I do find a lot with our members in Lady Landlords and our Facebook community is that we are women that are usually working in that personal development space. We're always looking for how we can improve. What's kind of the next best thing? What can we do to really provide ourselves and our families with a happier, healthier life? And I think that's something that really kind of unites our community. But saying, hey, I want to be as financially literate as I can is a big step. And real estate investing is just another piece of that. So that idea of saying, hey, education is something that's going to be a lifelong journey. There's always going to be something new to be able to learn. There's always something new to kind of take on and exciting to move forward with, is something that I do feel like is definitely one of the top characteristics that I've seen across our successful Lady Landlords. The second skill set that I see through our successful Lady Landlords is being a very good problem solver, having those analytical skills to understand what needs to be done, what the actual problem is, how to prioritize, how to be able to navigate their way through that with resources, networking, contacts that they do have, also really comes into play. Now, I am not saying that that is always easy, right? I just did an episode here on our Lady Landlords podcast about the last property that I closed on about a month ago now. And there were issues that arose from that I have never seen before in the 16 other doors that I bought, but they popped up here. It was something where I really had to be able to dig in, get on the phone, call the experts, call the people that knew about this, find a solution for, okay? I truly believe, and if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again here. Real estate investing is simple, but simple is not easy, okay? So it brings up new challenges. There are two ways to handle challenges, and not just in real estate, but really anything in life. You can either say, well, I don't know how to solve that. Okay, I guess I'll just kind of lay down and, just kind of give up on my dream, on my next steps, on my goals. Or say, what do I need to do to get this solved? Okay, like I said, it's not always easy, but it's the idea that it's still possible. And if you're a person that can really see that through and say, I am willing to take that on, I am willing to be able to see how I can best use my resources. And if you're good with being able to say, hey, I kind of know a guy for that, or I know somebody that might know a guy for that, those are really the places that I'm seeing people be successful. What's really great is if you're listening to this podcast, that means you are most likely in Lady Landlords. So if you're saying, well, Becky, I don't know that person, I don't know the guy that knows the guy, I don't know the right woman to be able to ask to get to that solution, you actually do. And it's in our Facebook community. So if you've never made a post there asking for some type of support, some type of help, some type of question, change that today. There's your action step. Go and get the support. We have over 50,000 women in Lady Landlords currently. It's a great place to be able to ask for help. We are a safe space for you to be able to ask your question and get the support that you need. All right? There's no reason for you to sit there and spin or feel stuck or feel like you don't know the answer to something when you have literally that resource of our Facebook community right at your fingertips. The third characteristic that I see are really women in that DIY space, okay? What that shows is usually the people that are into kind of some of that DIY that say, hey, I can kind of take this on. It shows that they're willing to put in the work, right? There are so many ways to get this done. There are absolutely ways that you're going to look at a project and say, nope, that is over my pay grade. I do not have the time bandwidth for that. This is not something that interests me. That's okay, because you can always find somebody else that does have that skill set to be able to do it. But what I think is really cool is a lot of the successful lady landlords that I've seen are willing to say, you know what, I can kind of put in that work. I can do that. And it doesn't have to be manual labor. That's not saying that you're going to go gut a kitchen by yourself. But when I say DIY, I'm talking about somebody that's willing to show up, somebody that's willing to put in the work, somebody that's saying, I actually want this and I am going to show up and I am going to make that change. There is nothing that I or anybody else can say or do to convince somebody that this is something that they should want. Okay. It's just like a smoker. We've all known a smoker at some point in our life. We've all known somebody that's maybe needed to lose weight. As much as we can say, hey, this is really bad for your health, the change needs to happen. Hey, look at the long-term repercussions of these actions that you're doing. It doesn't matter. If that person is not willing to make that change, if they're not willing to put in that work, nothing is going to change. Okay. Maybe they'll say, okay, great. I'll quit or I'll diet for, the day or when I'm in front of this person, but that does not create long-term change. That's really something that has to come from the person themselves. And that is what makes successful lady landlords stand out, because they are the people that are saying, I know something's got to change. I know I got to show up. I know I got to commit. I know I got to follow through. The fourth characteristic that I see within this is that they understand that not everything is absolutely perfect. Okay. And what's interesting is I feel like I see this in two different ways. I see the people that are waiting for things to be perfect. I call that really that analysis paralysis stage, the place where they get too stuck in that education. Well, maybe if I just read one more book, maybe if I just listen to one more podcast, maybe if I just sign up for one more training, all of those different things. Yeah. Can they be helpful? Great. But unless we actually do something with that information, it doesn't make a difference. And what I notice is that there's a lot of people that get stuck in the, I'm scared to do this. And then you have a decision, right? You can be in that decision. You can say, hey, I have fear around this. The successful lady landlords say, I have fear, but I understand that I can overcome that. I'm willing to get uncomfortable for a short period of time to be comfortable in the long run. I recognize that this is something that's going to be new for me, that's going to be different for me, that's going to be challenging for me, and that's something that I'm willing to do. Those are the women that are successful. Those are the ones that you see in our community that are showing that they're closing on their tiny home communities, that are picking up rental after rental after rental. Even in the economy, they are still finding cash flowing, productive deals that are fitting their portfolio. The women that are saying, yeah, got my next property rented, that are doing flips, that are able to do those rehabs, versus the other women that are sitting there saying, I'm scared and I'm going to let fear stop me. I'm going to let myself get in my own way, and I'm not going to be able to move forward. And that is a big determining factor between our lady landlords that are successful and the other ones that year after year after year still haven't bought property, still haven't gotten the property that they already own rented. Sometimes I talk to women and I'm like, every single month you are losing money, month after month after month. And then I talk to them and it's like a year later and they're like, yeah, it's still vacant. Yeah, I still haven't fixed this. Yeah, I haven't still found the funding. Yep, I still don't have the information that I need. And they just don't do that. So if this is a step that you are stuck on, I encourage you to write down what that fear is and start to dig a little bit deeper. Why is that? Where is this fear coming from? And what do we need to change that? But you need to really look within yourself and be able to say, yes, I am scared, but you know what? I'm willing to overcome that. And then otherwise, if your answer to that question is no, I'm scared and I'm going to stay like this, then you need to accept your reality if that's where you're going to be. That change will not happen. If you do not change something, your outside environment does not change either. The last characteristic that I see in our successful lady landlords are those that are willing to ask for help. They're not the know-it-alls. They're not the ones that are like, nope, I can figure this out on my own. But they're the ones willing to say, hey, I need a little extra guidance. I need a little extra support. I want to talk to somebody that's been there, done that. I want to save myself the headache, the loss of money from going down the wrong path or from wasting time, especially once again, if you have vacancies or if you have a non-cash flowing property, and really able to say, hey, you know what? I don't know everything, but I can find somebody that does know that. And that really makes a difference. That humility to be able to say, yeah, I need a little support in here. I have some questions. Let me find a solution to that. Really ties together those different characteristics that I am sharing with you today. Okay. So what I want you to do is listen through that list that I just kind of went through here. Think about, does that identify as you? I'd love to know down in the comments. If you feel like I was speaking to you and you're like, yup, that is me, let me know down in the comments. If you're saying, hey, you know what, in this place, I feel like I can use a little bit of work. Here's where I can use a little bit of support. Reach out to me. Okay. You can always email me at Becky@lady-landlords.com. You You can put a comment down here. But that's really what we do within our mentorship program is I really specialize in creating customized solutions for women to get the support that they need to grow their rental portfolio for their desired goals. So if that's something you would ever like support on, feel free to look down, grab the link in the show notes, and book a call. Let's have a chat. Let's see if we're even a fit to work together and if I can even help. And let's see where we can go from there to make sure that you can be one of our member success stories here on the Lady Landlords podcast. Thank you very much for joining me today. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you do not miss the next episode of the Lady Landlords podcast. Also, if you enjoyed today's episode, please do make sure to leave us a 5-star review. 5-star reviews actually help other women be able to find us and get the support that they need. So if you have 1 minute to really make sure that you can pay forward what you've learned from our podcast, please do so. Thank you so much, and I will see you next Tuesday for the next episode of the Lady Landlords podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Lady Landlords podcast. If you're feeling stuck in your real estate investing journey, visit lady-landlord.com to book a 15-minute orientation call with me and see if you're ready to join our mentorship program. Or you can subscribe to our newsletter and join our Facebook group for exclusive real estate investing tips and offers. Invest with confidence. Become a Lady Landlord today.